Right, so it's time to address the elephant in the room because we have been expecting an April event of sorts to happen very soon. And in fact, John Prosser had told us that we can expect an event to take place on the 6th. And if that were true, we should have seen invites go out on the 30th, but Apple decided to give us invites for WWDC instead. And so that left a lot of us confused and puzzled as to what exactly is going on. And so today, let's compile all the leaks at our disposal and also speculate on what exactly is going on. And so, without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. And with that being said, let's just tuck in. Right, so let's begin with the leaks, and that really starts with John Prosser because while he has been a little iffy with the dates as of recently, he was the first person to mention this April event, and apparently this information was coming from a super reliable source who has never been wrong in the past, and so this adds a lot of weight to, of course, the whole idea of an April event. Now, I do want to say, as far as I can see on the screenshots that John Prosser has provided, this source hasn't clarified on any specific date. They simply said April, and I believe the April 6th date I mentioned at the beginning was actually from one of his other sources who isn't as credible. And apparently John did ask this super reliable source about this date, and he just sent a smiley emoji, which doesn't really confirm or deny many things, and so maybe the meaning of the smiley emoji could be the fact that we see invites go out on the 6th of April, and then of course the event takes place on the 13th. Now, the next source to claim an April event is happening is UnclePan, who, by the way, says that both iPad Pro and AirPods 3 are still on track for an April release, and we should see them at an April conference pretty soon. Now, I do want to say that UnclePan has no rating on Apple Track, and so he doesn't really have an established track record, but the man has been leaking a few interesting things as of late. For example, he has images of the spring collection of MagSafe cases that, of course, could launch pretty soon, and not only does he have the cases, but he also has the color of the MagSafe animation on the phone. And so clearly, he's gone hands-on with these cases, and the fact he has these cases very early does mean he has connections within the supply chain. Additionally, the other day he gave us an image of a label from the packaging of the new Magic Keyboard, which of course had reference to the 11-inch third generation iPad Pro, and so clearly, once again, this guy has deep connections within the supply chain, and since he is based in China, this does seem pretty plausible to me. And so yes, coming back to my original point, if he does have access to parts of these new releases, this clearly means that they are in mass production, and of course, this would tie in with other reports we've heard, because Kang, the most reliable Apple leaker there is, did say that Apple is ramping up production of the iPad Pro, and so again, that clearly does refer to a launch that is pretty imminent, and also on top of that, we have got information about AirPods 3 being ready to go too. And the final tidbits in terms of evidence I have is iOS 14.5 is still not out, and I mentioned this in a previous video, but as a recap, we've had iOS 14.5 in beta for what seems like forever now. It's been, I think, about a month, which is kinda insane, and on Apple's site, they vaguely mentioned that iOS 14.5 will launch later this spring, and so clearly they are pushing back the release for some reason, and I think the reason is the fact they're waiting for the release of the new iPad Pro. Because of course, we have seen reference to the iPad Pro and the A14X chip in iOS 14.5 beta, and so I do think that iOS 14.5 will come out of the box with the 2021 iPad Pro, and so I think Apple's plan is to release iOS 14.5 to the public alongside the iPad Pro. And iOS historian Brandon Butch believes that could be on the 6th or 13th of April, which could be possible release dates for this new iPad Pro. Now finally, let's answer the question, are we going to see an actual event, or is it going to be press releases instead? And well, we have no leaks regarding this, but if I were to speculate, I think we could see press releases instead, and so let me explain why I think this. So yes, I know in the past, Apple has announced spring events after their WWDC announcement, and so we could see a very similar thing happen this year. But personally, I think it's going to be press releases because, number one, last year we saw a pretty similar situation where Apple announced the virtual WWDC announcement, and then a few days after, they announced the 2020 iPad Pro via a press release. And so basically my thinking is that since 2020 and 2021 are very similar in that, of course, COVID is ruining everything, I think we can expect a very similar situation this year, where we see, of course, the iPad Pros via press release pretty soon. But also, if you think about it, the whole idea of an event made a lot of sense initially because Apple was initially planning to release AirTags at this spring event. But of course, you might have noticed in this new report from UnclePan, he mentions nothing about AirTags, and actually we haven't heard a lot about them recently, which has made me think that maybe they have been pushed back till later in the year. And yes, I know some of you might think, that isn't Mini LED big enough of an upgrade on the iPad Pro to cover at an event? Well, I don't think so, because Mini LED can easily be explained via a press release. Apple can easily use a lot of fancy words like Liquid Retina XDR on the site to flex Mini LED, and they could attach some videos explaining the technology, and so I don't think we need to see the iPad Pro at an event. However, in contrast, AirTags are a completely new product for Apple, and so they have to convince us and explain and demonstrate the use cases on stage to give us a better understanding of the product. And so I do have a feeling that we could see AirTags at the iPhone event instead, since of course that is Apple's biggest event, and we are hearing rumors about Apple having an in-person event in the coming months for a mixed reality headset, and so there is a very high chance that press could be at the iPhone event, and so like I said, demonstrating the technology in front of people and letting them use it and interact with it will of course be the best thing to do for a completely new product like AirTags. But of course, I am pretty sure that a lot of you do know how to use an iPad Pro and AirPods, and so Apple can of course just easily drop them via a press release on the site ASAP, because I don't think a lot of us really want an event. They just want the products to be released as soon as possible. And so yes, I think press releases would be the best thing to do. One more thing, and that is about AirPods, because you might have realized we haven't had AirPods unveiled on stage since the original back in 2016, so the big upgrades like AirPods Pro and AirPods Max were covered via a press release, and so it doesn't seem completely absurd that Apple covers AirPods 3 via press release too, because it's pretty much AirPods Pro without ANC, and so there really isn't a lot to talk about on stage. But tell me in the comments below, what do you think is happening in April? Do you think we'll see an event or press release, or do you just not have a clue as to what exactly is going on? Because I have been pretty confused over these last few weeks with all kinds of conflicting information. And by the way, I do want to say none of this is confirmed info. Most of it is speculation on my part, and so I could be completely wrong. Anyways, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumors. Check out the video in the icon above about the iPhone SE coming with a hole punch display in 2023. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya, peeps.